Chat, we did black, excuse me, we did white, we did blue, we did black, and we did red. I forgot to turn the picture off, but that's fine. So you get to see the first card. However, YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, smash all those buttons, notification button as well, and socials and Twitch thing. Link in the description below if you want to see this kind of content live, not just the I can't talk right now, I don't know why. Not just the YouTube video, but if you want to see the content live, then go there. We do this a couple times a week. All right. Armored Scrap Gorger. 1 green, 1 colorless Phyrexian Beast 03. Scrap Gorger gets +3/+0 as long as it has 3 or more oil counters on it. Tap, add a mana of any color. When this becomes tapped, exile a target card from a graveyard and put an oil counter on Scrap Gorger. I don't know if this is better than Loam Speaker, but this is pretty damn good. Like very good. It doesn't block as well as Loam Speaker, meaning that against like soldiers you don't get to kill 1 toughness creatures with it. But being able to incidentally hit your opponent's graveyard for free, like just because you add mana, is kind of relevant, right? And in the modified deck, now you get some acceleration in your game, right? And if you're playing Kumano, right, you get to make it a 1/4. So like, I'm not saying it's good in the sense of like in a vacuum, but like there's a lot of applications for this card, and the fact that it incidentally hits the graveyard is why this card might be playable over Loam Speaker or any other 2-mana ramp creature. Just because that green now gets an incidental graveyard hate card that also accelerates their game plan while keeping the graveyard at bay. All right, listen. That flavor text is also amazing. Eat, sort, eat, sort, eat. So, yeah. Yeah, good card. Good, solid card. I have these in my green Awaken the Woods deck, or Awaken the Woods decks, because being able to hit graveyards is relevant in this format. All right, Bloated Contaminator. 1 green, 2 colorless Phyrexian Beast, 4/4 trample, toxic 1. Whenever Bloated Contaminator deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. So, it's a 3-drop, and it has toxic, and it proliferates. The question is what are you playing in that spot? Because a lot of the modify, aggro, whatever is playing at the minimum Fable and Reckless Stormseekers and, you know, a bunch of other stuff. So, like, I think if you're going in the Gruul territory, like, this, I don't know if you're playing 4 of these. Like, 3 is really crowded. Now, the question is how good is the toxic and the proliferate, and that will really dictate how good this card is. At least it doesn't die to a Braid. So, like, you have to have, like, Obliterating Bolt or Go for the Throat or something bigger. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm more interested in the proliferate than the toxic part. I don't know. I think Trample's fine. It's just, like, I don't know. It's just another 3-drop that's a 4/4. Like, I don't know how many other 3-drops you need, considering that you're already stacked at that mana cost, is all I'm saying. And that's the question you have to answer. Is how many 3s do you want, and at what point is Contaminator better than other 3-drops, if that makes sense. Canker Bloom, 2, 1 green, 1 colorless, Phyrexian Fungus, 3/2, tap 1, sacrifice, choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or proliferate. This is a good aggro card, and it's, I don't know if it's better. I don't know if it's better than what's the green 2/2 that flips into a 3/3? It's a wolf. Outland Liberator. I don't know if it's better than that, but it is a 3/2. And I don't know if sacrificing it to proliferate is good enough. But you get to have an extra power than Liberator does. And that meaning that you can actually block with, trade up with Corpse Appraiser or Graveyard Trespass or anything with 3 toughness, obviously. But Outland Liberator, if it ever flips, you just get to go nuts. But the fact that you're able to do the same thing on the front side and have an extra power might actually be relevant in some spots where maybe the Proliferate is not relevant, because I don't think it really is. I think what makes this card a little bit better or on equal par is the fact that it's a 3/2 instead of a 2/2. Because an extra power is relevant in the aggro stuff, especially if you're on the play. Carnivorous Canopy, 2 colorless, 1 green, sorcery, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. If that permanent was had a mana value 3 or less, proliferate. So we see these a lot. All right, Crushing Canopy, and many other 3-drops, mostly Crushing Canopy, but there's a lot of them. Honestly, and frankly, these cards are bad now, because we're getting these with on creatures that do way more things than they do as a 1-for-1 trade. And the Proliferate really doesn't really capture how powerful that the power creep has been. Basically leaving Canopy cards like this in the dust. Mostly putting this here to show what a trap card looks like as of right now. And this is a trap. So you have way better options at 2 mana, 1 mana than Carnivorous Canopy. And really, for 4 mana and a black source, you can exile anything. Artifact, creature, planeswalker. So 3 mana, you can do better than this. And have it be a threat, where Proliferate doesn't really matter. So trap card, understand that. Don't play these cards anymore. They're not good enough. They're not good enough as like they were 3 to 5 years ago, where like everything flew and you're like, I gotta kill something like on the cheap, and it's flexible enough to where I have to hit artifacts or enchantments, stuff like that. It's not like that anymore, where the majority of the good artifacts are 2 and 3 mana. And you're like either trading free, or you're trading equally, or you're trading down, which is not good for you, regardless if it was less than that. And your Proliferate doesn't really matter. All right, chat. Spoiler alert, this is one of my pet cards. Conduit of Worlds. 2 green, 2 colorless artifact. You may play lands from your graveyard. Tap, choose target non-land permanent in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So, this card is very, 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 did I say very, very nerfed? Okay. Why did I put this on here? I'm glad you asked. So, the main issue with a lot of green decks, one is what I found with playing green ramp strategies is Azusa, sometimes you draw it late and you don't have lands to play, but sometimes you have lands in your graveyard. Also, you get to a spot where it's very rare, but it does happen, where you have spells in your hand that you can't cast, or you got spells that are not relevant at the time, and you need a permanent or a threat. Conduit of Worlds basically says replay any threat you want. Titan of Industry, Titania, Tapiri Stomper, Reckoner Bankbuster. So you can play any permanent. I am very, 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 did I say very sad that I cannot replay Awaken the Woods with this. All right, because I read it and I was like, I get to play any spell out of my graveyard? Deal, I will continue to play Awaken the Woods until I can't play it anymore. But it only says permanent. All right, and non-land permanent at that. So you can play lands from your graveyard at any time, but, or one land per turn, obviously, but you can play lands out of your graveyard. And this is a late game card. So you don't want to draw a bunch of these. In fact, you only probably want to play one, maybe max two in your deck. This is the green version of Sarah Paragon, except Sarah Paragon's a better card in the fact that it's a threat and it's annoying, right? Conduit of Worlds is not the same thing. Sarah Paragon doesn't die to a braid, this does. All right, so this is a little bit worse than that, but all my green decks that are playing Awaken the Woods are playing this because there's a lot of permanents that you want to recast, and this allows you to do so. And that was really the finding cards that allow you to play stuff out of the grave. So like you can replay Shigeki. So like what you do is you don't have to play the blue cards anymore. You don't have to play like the turtle. So what you do is if they kill your Shigeki, you tap this, play it, and then when you untap, you bounce it back to your hand, and then you could discard it, bring back any spell that you can't cast. So like Awaken the Woods with Conduit of Worlds, tap it, cast Shigeki, bounce it, and now is that too slow? Maybe, but you don't have to play blue cards with it if you don't want to. You can play just black cards or green white and have better mana. But I'm only playing mostly mono green because you're gonna see why here in a minute. But this card to me is a sleeper more than a tier 1. You got to play this. It's more of a sleeper card. Like this can draw you enough cards, but because it only allows you to cast one spell a turn, you want to play this with Planeswalkers essentially, right? Excuse me. All right. Evolved Spinoderm, two colorless, 2 green, Phyrexian Beast 5/5. When Spinoderm enters the battlefield, Spinoderm enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. Evolved Spinoderm has trample as long as it had 2 or fewer counters on it. Otherwise, it has hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter from Spinoderm. If you have no oil counters on it, sacrifice it. This is a callback to an old card 15, 20 years ago in Blastoderm. And Blastoderm was a very, 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 very good card way back when there were no Planeswalkers and removal was, and cards were not nearly as good as they are now. This card is not good. All right. Maybe this is good in the sense of if you, I will say if you curve this from Reckless Stormseeker, that could be annoying. So now you're taking 6 trample as opposed to 5. It's not even trample, it's hexproof. So, yeah, I don't know. What other 4-drop would you want over this? Because is it better to have this or Thundering Raiju? Or what other 4-drop you could play outside of this? Because I don't see this being better than Raiju or any other 4-drop that you can play. And it's not a sideboard card either. Because the thing about Blastoderm was you basically what you did is you went turn 1 Bird or turn 1 Mana Dork if you had it, or if it was in the form, I can't remember. But turn 3 or turn 2 you played Fires, which basically was a 3-mana enchantment that gave all your creatures haste. And then you just kept casting Blastoderms and big dumb creatures that gave haste, right? So I don't know if this is good enough anymore because you have better things to do with your stuff like Raiju and many other things. But this deserves consideration in the sense that, you know, having hexproof is still relevant. But being that there's a lot of sweepers and a lot of ways to sacrifice stuff and invoke despair and many other things, like Blastoderm is not what it used to be, like by a lot. Power creep really kind of left that in the dust too. Evolving Adaptive, 1 red or 1 green 0/0 Phyrexian Warrior. Good creature type. Evolving Adaptive enters the battlefield with an oil counter on it. Evolving Adaptive gets a +1 or gets +1/+1 for each oil counter on it. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature had greater power or toughness than Evolving Adaptive, put an oil counter on Evolving Adaptive. So, this is the card that the reason why you're in oil. Okay? Now, this is why I said you had to be in Gruul, because this is the main reason why you're in it. And the fact that there are cards that allow you to move oil counters anywhere, and there are a lot of cards that just simply say put an oil counter at the beginning of your upkeep on a creature. And Adaptive is one of those things where it can get stupid really fast and it's cheap. So this is like the one drop that no one really cares about until you really understand that you can get the trigger off it when creatures are bigger and then add oil counters after the fact. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that proliferate matters? What is annoying, though, is that this does not work with hardened scales, which is bullshit. Okay? You don't get +1/+1 counters, you get oil counters. So, boo! Okay. Still good enough. You're still playing green-red, and yeah, this counts for modify, so yeah. All right, next, good aggro card, play it. Green Sun's Twilight, 1 green X, reveal the top sorcery, reveal the top X cards +1 cards of your library. Choose a creature card and or a land card from among them. Put those cards into your hand and the rest of the bottom of your library in any order, or in a random order, excuse me. If X is 5 or more, instead put the chosen cards onto the battlefield or into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Chat, listen. I've seen a couple people on Twitter. Some of them may or may not be professionals. I don't know. Not pros. Big difference. Professional means it's what you do, and pro means it's who you are. But this card sucks. Like, I have to pay 6 mana to get a creature and a land onto the battlefield at sorcery speed. Frankly, terrible. This card might be worse than Red Sun, and that card was bad. Like, really bad. There is no way this card's good. Because, like, you have better spells than this. For example, World Spell. Cruelty of Gix. Like, yeah, this card, another turkey. Yeah. Good call. Moving on. Oh, what have they done to my girl? Alright. Nissa. Ascended Animist. 3 colorless, 2 green, 2 Phyrexian green mana. Legendary Planeswalker Nissa. Completed. Womp, womp, womp. 7 starting loyalty. +1. Create an XX green Phyrexian horror creature token where X is Nissa Ascended Animist loyalty. -1. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. -7. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 for each force you control and gain trample. Alright. So, if you notice, it looks almost like Nisha Who Shakes the World, the art, but now like ascended into completedness. So sad that she's completed. However, this card scales, okay? And the only thing you're doing with this is you get the best overrun ever. All right? Because it says forest. So, not basic forest, forest. Okay? Now, what I want to do with this is play Awaken the Woods. Because Awaken the Woods, you get 1/1 Dryad Forest creature tokens. And because you're already playing Stomper and a bunch of ramp spells, and a bunch of ramp creatures, right? If you get Awaken the Woods for 2 or for 2x, right? Because you had 4 mana. So theoretically you go 2-drop creature like Scrap Gorager or Loam Speaker or even Shigeki, hell. Awaken the Woods for 2 or 3. Untap, play Nissa, and attack for like 1 million. Right? Or plus, and then do the overrun, right? Because those count as forest. And pair this with a bunch of the other forest stuff, and you got a mono green deck that scales. Because you can play this at 5, you can play this at 6, and you can play it at 7. And if you play it at 7, you get the full effect, right? You can ult it right then and there. If you play it at 5, you get a 4/4 creature. If you play it at 6, you get a 6/6. And if you play it for 7, you get an 8/8, but you get to keep your Nissa, right? So what I want to do with this is if I'm playing it for 7, I'm using it for the overrun. Unless I played it for, if I played it at 5 or whatever. But mostly for mono green. And I just want to play Awaken the Woods with it. But outside of that, I don't know how good it is at 5 mana. Like, this seems like the best green card in the set. One of, anyway. But, it's really going to depend on how the overrun works. Like, if you could get it reliably and you have enough creatures to, like, just smash through everything. Right? So, we'll see. But rest assured, chat, on the 8th, because not the 7th, because that's a Tuesday, we are going to try to make this and Awaken the Woods work. All right. Older formats, Rustvein Cultivator, 1 green, Phyrexian Elf Druid, an elf, huh? 1/2, tap, put an oil counter on Rustvein Cultivator, tap, remove an oil counter for Rustvein Cultivator, untap target land. So you get to untap any land, but you have to have an oil counter on it. So, honestly, I don't think you really give a shit about untapping a land in Standard. In older formats, you got insane lands, right? You got Nykthos, you got Lotus Field, you got some lands, right? The problem is that you don't get that till at least turn 3, right? Because turn 1, you got to cast it, right? And it has Summoning Sickness. Then turn 2, you have to put an oil counter on it. And even if you have something that gives oil counters on your upkeep or a land or whatever, like, you still got to wait. So you got to wait 2 turns with this. And I got better things to do with my time in any format that makes me wait 2 turns to even get some value out of it, especially in a Standard format where it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm over this because there's way better cards in this. Like, yeah, you get to generate oil for free, but does that really matter? Like, I got nothing. Thirsting Roots. 1 green, choose 1. Search your library for a basic land reveal, put it in your hand, or proliferate. This one, I put it in here because we always see these 1 green, Lay of the Land, but you get another effect on it at the late game. And unfortunately for me, this is a trap. Bushwhack, which is the one from the last set, where you get a Lay of the Land, get a basic land, or you get to fight. And that's probably one of the better ones that we've seen in a while. And you could cheat on lands with that card. On this one, I'm not so sure. And Lay of the Land is only good if it gives you a lot of value. And being a removal spell in the late game is a lot more value than proliferating. So, while proliferate is powerful on its own, are you really playing it in a deck that is already at a lower land count anyway? And does that matter in a deck that's playing more creatures that might not need the proliferate clause? So it really is remain to be seen, but I'm not about it. But I put it in here just to show you that sometimes not all of them are created equal, and this one is not one of them. Thrun, Breaker of Silence. 2 green, 3 colorless, legendary creature troll shaman. This creature, or this spell, cannot be countered. Trample. Thrun, Breaker of Silence, can't be the target of non-green spells your opponents control or abilities non-green sources your opponents control. As long as it is your turn, Thrun has indestructible. Now this, chat, is... this is a card. On my turn, it's indestructible. Okay? And you can't target it. It's got basically hexproof from non-green. Okay? Can't be the target of non-green spells or abilities of non-green creatures. So, you can't Bloodthirst Harvester this. You can't go for the throat. You can't Abrade. You can't Infernal Grasp. You can't Lay Down Arms. You can't Fateful Absence. You can't Banishing Light, or the other 2-drop Banishing Destroy Target Tab Creature card. You can't Cathar it. Can't Wandering Emperor. Chat. You can't kill this card. Like, you can't kill it. You're playing green creatures. You're not going to be able to invoke this. Good luck. Like, good luck trying to invoke this, because there's going to be creatures on the battlefield. Yeah, this card, yo. This card is so good. I don't think people understand how card... Listen, okay. Imagine for a moment that... imagine how good Shieldred was, right? Now imagine that even those spells that were in the same colors that kill Shieldred can't kill Thrun, or can't kill it. That's basically what Thrun is. How do you kill this card? This card's more unkillable than Shieldred is. And Shieldred's annoying. You know what else is annoying? This card has indestructible. Meaning that my fight spells are going to kill Shieldred and this doesn't die to it. Yeah, you're only going to be able to sack it or sweep it. So, like, you're going to have to play sweepers in your deck. Right? So, like, good luck trying to kill this card. You're basically going to have to 2-for-1 yourself. Like, Brotherhood's End, kill everything, and then Edict it. But good luck. Because green, Thrun is like the... So remember when I said that it pays to be in white or black because of... Because those are the colors that have basically the best removal to kill like anything, and specifically Shieldred. Well, guess what? Now you have to play green cards, essentially, or sweepers like main deck now, because this card's main deckable, man. 4 of, and it's not even close either. Like, you're playing 1-drops, you're playing 2s, you're playing 3s, and while it is legendary, still, like, this card doesn't fucking die. Like, I don't think you understand how hard this card is to kill. Think of all the removal spells you have. Right? Now, half of them kill Shieldred, but the majority of them are in white or black. Right? You can't fucking kill this thing. Alright? It can't. Right? This card might actually be good against blue-white in Explorer or Pioneer, because they can only kill it with Farewell or Supreme Verdict. They can't Emperor it. They can't Teferi it. They can't do anything to it. understand how hard this card is to fucking kill. Like, oh boy. You better have some Thought Seizes in your deck. Oh, man. Holy shit. Or you splash green in all of your decks and play Tears Asunder. That's the only way to kill this thing. Thrun. This card is very, 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 very good. It's very good. If you're in green, play 4 of these. I'm not kidding. Speaking of other cards that you should be playing, Tyrannix Rex, 3 green, 4 colorless. Yeah, Pilfer. Phyrexian Dinosaur. Where's Biohazard at when you need him? This spell can't be countered. Trample, Ward 4, Haste, Toxic 4, 8/8. I'm not upset at these cards. Like I'm flabbergasted that these things are being are in the format, right? And green, if there's any solace about green, green got a better creature than Shieldred. Better than Shieldred. How? Oh yeah, and by the way, you gotta have 6 mana to Infernal Grasp this card. Not saying that's hard, just this card's annoying too. But at least you can, you can target it at least. Thrun, you can't target it with shit except Tears. And fight spells. Right? So, but this card's like I call this is the Carnage Tyrant. Like they completed Carnage Tyrant, now it's Tyrannix Rex. And Thrun is like green's version of Shieldred, where you can't kill it, more annoying to deal with than Shieldred. And oh, by the way, I know it had trample much like this does, so you can't chump block it. Like I got nothing, man. Like the same with this. 8/8. Toxic 4. Like either way, you're dying. Like this is more of an EDH card, but like this will kill you. Like if you find a way to kill Thrun. Oh, by the way, now you got to kill this. Good luck. Yeah, green needed something, but good lord, man. Green went from, yeah, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. And then it's like Thrun and Tyrannix Rex. But both of them are playable. Period. Tyvar Stan. X, green, instant. Target creature you control gets +X/+X, gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. The only card, or the only reason this card is good is because you get to make your creatures fucking huge with it. And the only thing I want to do with this is put this on Illuminator Virtuoso. So when they try to kill it, you basically make it into a 5/5 and you make it into a 12/12 and they die. Like, but other than that, you're really only playing this for 1. Maybe 3. Or, excuse me, maybe 2. As in, like, paying 2 mana. So you make it a +1/+1 and you give it X-proof. But mostly you're just playing this for 1. Like, I know it says X and you can make it bigger, but mostly you're just playing this for 1 mana. Maybe 2. This card's good. No, don't get me wrong. But, the majority of the protection spells that you're playing are normally being played on your turn or your opponent's turn, not your turn. And while this does make it better for you to play on your turn, because that just means that, oh, well, I don't have any more spells anyway, so I'm just going to tap out and just pay X for 2 or 3 and get a little bit more damage in. But this incentivizes you to go all in, basically. So, but yeah, I don't know how good this is in older formats. Maybe it's relevant. But in standard, it's just like every other green protection spell. I still think Tameo Safekeeping might be better in a vacuum, like as a whole as a card. But this card is not too far off. Unnatural Restoration. 1 green, 1 colorless sorcery. Return target permanent card from the graveyard to your hand. Proliferate. So basically you got regrowth and you get to proliferate. And it's a permanent card. So you return anything. You return Planeswalker, creature, artifact, enchantment, whatever. So when you see regrowth, virtual regrowth, not literal regrowth, because regrowth says any card. But virtually regrowth, and you have tacked on proliferate, that does not get ignored. So anything that has proliferate on it, just tacked onto it, is playable, and you should try it in any deck. All right, and it's easy to cast. Just 1 green, 1 colorless, and yeah. Is that it? No, it is not. We still got more stuff. Venerated Rot Priest. 1 green, Phyrexian Druid, 1/2. Toxic 1. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. Chat, this card's busted. Alright. This card is hella annoying. This is the aggro card for the Toxic deck. Period. End of story. There is a combo. Yeoman 5 posted one. I think it's green-blue. But you can play this with anything. I think what you're doing with Venerated Rot Priest is you're playing this with white. So the Toxic deck, in my opinion, is green-white. And you get Rot Priest and the Might that protects it. So you play the Might first, and then you play the Rot Priest, right? And this way, you're like safe, right? And then you could go nuts. And all of your creatures have Toxic 1, right? So you're playing this, you're playing the Might, you're playing the Hive, you're playing like all these little dinky 1/2 Toxic creatures. Excuse me. And with Rot Priest, it gets really dumb. Rot Priest basically says ward, except it doesn't get countered and you automatically get a poison counter. So like, if you're playing Toxic aggro or anything, Rot Priest is in it. And that card's fucking annoying. Alright. If you're playing the green-blue version, you have the two drop Sprite that whenever you target it, if a single creature gets targeted, it targets itself. So yeah. And then if it becomes a target, yeah, Ivy, and you target it and the trigger happens, you can protect it, and then they have to target it again. So they're getting 2 poison counters, right? Yeah, this card's absurd. And yeah, if you're playing Toxic, you're playing this card. Period. End of story. Viral Spawning. 2 colorless, 1 green sorcery. Create a 3/3 green Phyrexian Beast creature token with Toxic 1. Oh yeah, I'm stupid. Corrupted. As long as an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, Viral Spawning is in your Viral Spawning is in your graveyard. It has flashback for its mana cost of 2 colorless and a green. So basically Call of the Herd from like 15, 20 years ago. And Call of the Herd Call of the Herd was a very good card 15, 20 years ago. However, not that good anymore. But I wanted to give it its shout out as this is a it's a callback to Call of the Herd. The Toxic is cute, but I don't think I think in the Toxic deck this might actually be playable because I don't think it's that hard to get 3 poison counters if you're playing all Toxic creatures and you're swinging with them and stuff, and with Rot Priest, right? So they're getting at least 1, right? So if they have 3, you basically have 2 3/3s. So whether that's good enough or not will remain to be seen, but I'm skeptical on Call of the Herd being good, but hey, adding Toxic to it might actually be relevant. Who knows? But yeah, there's a lot for that deck, and I think I would start in green, white, and then kind of finagle the 2 color, because I think 3 color is a little too much. Zapandrel, Hunger Dominus, 5 colorless, 2 green, legendary creature, Phyrexian Horror, reach, 4/6. At the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. 2 green Phyrexian, sacrifice 2 other creatures, put an indestructible counter on Hunger Dominus. Unfortunately, this card sucks. And it's sad too, because I'm pretty sure you can make this a 6-drop. Because there's already 2 7s that are fighting over this. Titan of Industry and Nissa. Now, there's other 7s too, but those are the 2 main ones in green. There is no way that you're playing this over any of those. And if you really wanted the double power and toughness, you're just playing the unnatural selection or whatever that green, the green enchantment is, because it costs 5. But the fact that it costs 7 is absurd. Yeah, and the dinosaur, Tyrannix Rex, also costs 7. So, 4/6 that turns into an 8/12. Yeah, man, I got nothing. This card's, nah. I'm over it. Let the Commander players pay $20 for this. All right. That's it. Last of the mono colors. If there's a card that I didn't talk about that should be part of the playable pile or possibly playable pile, put it in the comments below. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the subscription. Smash that notification button to get more content like this. And we'll be back. YouTubers will be back with multicolor. Twitchers, I'm going to take a swig of water and we'll be right back here soon. So, laters.